Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Northeast Scene Podcast. This is Keith.
And Tommy.
And today we have not a special guest, but special guests. Our first almost full band interview and our first post-rock interview, Signalhill. Woo!
Ew.
Hey, gentlemen, we've got Rishi Arora, guitarist, and we've got Tim Cooper. Tim, you're the drummer, right?
I am.
Okay, we've got Tim Cooper on drums, and we've got Brian Vasallo, bassist.
I'm here.
Hey, so how's everybody doing today? Everyone answer at once. Go. No, I'm just kidding. Well, first, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining. We're giving our first full band interview a try, and you know what? It's an honor to have you guys here as our first post-rock interview, because Tommy and I are ravenous post-rock fans, and I've wanted to have a post-rock interview, so you guys are the first. How does it feel?
Awesome.
It's an honor.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for reaching out and thinking of us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we're living in crazy times, right? I've pretty much been in lockdown since early March, whenever they closed down like all the bars and restaurants here in New York City. Tommy, same for you, right? I'm working from home. You're working from home.
I'm actually, my last day of school was yesterday. I'm done.
Oh, good.
Congrats.
Yeah, nice.
I'm still
Yeah.
writing math curriculum right now for a couple schools, but no, I'm actually not physically I don't have to teach anymore during the day.
Hooray.
All right. Well, I'm going to outsource most of the podcast work to you starting today. So I need you to learn audio engineering and promotion. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, audience, get ready for a phenomenal drop in quality immediately. Be prepared.
So I like to see where everybody's at in this crazy world we're living in now. Let's start with Rishi. What is your... Now, Rishi, you moved to the UK from New York City, correct?
Yeah. So I've been out in London since 2014. So yeah, just over 5 years now.
And why did you move there?
It's mostly like a personal reason. So my wife, my now wife, her and I were just dating at the time, and I was living in New York, and she's actually from Greece. So we were doing like a long distance New York to Greece relationship until I think it was like a couple years, and we finally decided like, hey, we got to move to the same city finally, and London was kind of in the middle. So we made it here, and we've since got married. So yeah, we've been here for a while.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long have you been in the relationship?
We started dating in 2012. So yeah, I think I guess about 8 years.
And has it been long distance that whole time?
It was long distance like the first couple years. Yeah.
Wow. Because I've done long distance, and it's very difficult. But I think it depends on the relationship, really, and the dynamic of the two people.
Yeah, definitely. I think it made it easy because we were already living in separate cities like from the beginning, and so kind of like the objective was always like, let's plan the next trip to see each other, and then the objective became like, let's plan when we're gonna move to the same city together. So we were kind of like always working towards that thing, which I think helped us. But
yeah. So what do you do for your day job, and what does your life look like day to day in the age of Corona?
So I'm a graphic designer for my day job. Work at like a marketing technology company, and just do some design for them, some like on-site email design and that kind of thing, website design. And yeah, just been working from home through all of this. Been very fortunate to be able to have my job throughout the lockdown. So yeah, and my wife and I have both been working from home, so been hanging in there.
Yeah, it's difficult. I love the solitariness of it, you know, because mostly everything I do, I can just do from home. But I need that dose of people to keep myself sane, because I isolate too much. I got to go out, I got to get my fill of people and keep myself balanced. So I'm looking forward to that happening again at some point.
Definitely.
So Tim, where do you live? You live in Los Angeles, right?
Yep, I've been here since the band started back in, I think it was 2004. Originally from northern New York, and that's when I kind of fell into the hardcore scene. North of Syracuse is where I grew up. But yeah, I've been out in LA since 2002 now, I guess.
And why did you move out to LA?
I wanted to get out of my small hometown of Messina, New York. Not much going on, although I love the place. And went to college in Arizona and grew up a skateboarder and always dreamt of the West Coast and sun and skate spots everywhere year round. And so I just kept heading west until I hit the ocean, which is just down the street.
Nice, nice. So you made the big move because typically, if you're from northern New York, you'll move to New York City or maybe Philly or something like that. But you went all the way across the country.
I did. Yep, always been one to explore and reach farther.
I like that. So, what do you do for your day job, and how are you holding up in life of quarantine?
Well, I get stir crazy kind of easy because I love the outdoors and just moving and, exploring, zooming around and everything from backpacking, rock climbing, surfing, whatever. So it's kind of strange. So I've been immersed in trying to make music and reading a lot. But my wife and we both have been working from home through all this. And so my day job, I work at Yamaha, and so I help support users of our almost everything, basically from electric guitars to electronic drums, acoustic drums, and then some like audio equipment as well, some of the basic mixers. So tech support, I guess you could say, but it's cool. I meet so many awesome musicians with great ideas, and yeah, I'm prone to tangents, so I won't go too deep. But
You're gonna love Tommy then. He is the tangent king.
Yo, I was just gonna say Messina, and I looked it up. It's like you're on the border of Canada, and as soon as I see upstate New York, all I want to do is talk to you about skateboarding and lacrosse. So I'm like, never mind. I'll let it go.
Well, we'll get to some of that. But Tim, it's got to be great to still be working in music, during the day when you're not doing the band, because for me, my job is extremely corporate, so it doesn't match my personality really.
Oh, I've been there for ages, and actually until not too long ago. So now I feel like I have a more comfortable home in line with, my life goals, etc.
Yeah, that's my secret dream with my new life that I'm living, is that I hope like I somehow segue to a career doing something that I enjoy a little more. But in the meantime, my company's great. The people I work with are great, and it pays the bills, so it's all good.
I have faith you will.
Thank you. That feels good. And last but not least, Brian. Brian, where do you also live in California?
I do. I live in Los Angeles. I'm the guy that never left, actually. So I grew up here. Went to college here. Laid roots here. I tried to leave, but I just never really found like the opportunity or work that took me out of the city. So when the band started, I was, I think, like just finishing college. And so, the timing also, I think Signal Hill also for me was like kind of like a part reason to even kind of just stay. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good reason. Plus, I mean, that's what you do. You move to one of the coasts. So if you're from Los Angeles, like, why leave? I mean, it's a good place to be, right?
Yeah. If I left, it would have been along the coast. Just maybe further north or something. Like Seattle was an option. It's still kind of an option. And then, I'd love to do something international like Rishi, but I don't have a Greek girlfriend, so. But,
not yet, at least.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, I try, but
She's my wife now, bro.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Hey man, I miss LA a lot. I'll tell you that right now. I miss being out there. So for what it's worth.
Brian, how are you holding up in quarantine, and what is your day job?
Yeah, so as far as holding up in the quarantine, I'm doing all right. I mean, a little like Tim, I do get a little stir crazy. I have dogs, so going outside isn't an issue. And I was one of those ones that was like, I'll just walk along the beach or something like that, kind of just, do anything to kind of like make an excuse to get out. just keep a safe distance, wear a mask, yada, yada. But I will say that I do miss just like that, just going to I work in downtown Los Angeles, which is like kind of like our big, like iconic, like urban area where it's all concentrated. So going to a bar there, or like hanging out with people there, or I love going to restaurants. It's like that can't happen anymore, and that bums me out. Yeah, I mean, as far as like work goes, like, I do like working from home, but I do have like a small team that I enjoy kind of just like powwowing with like once in a while. Like just if I envision, hopefully, like if things get back to somewhat normal, like just, going into the office maybe a couple days a week and then coming back out and working from home as much as I can. So that'd be ideal for me.
Yeah, that is ideal. I usually only go into the office 1 day a week, if that. And I would like to transition just to working from home, pretty much all the time. I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah, totally. So I do work in the nonprofit world. I work for United Way, and the pandemic has been sort of kind of like the topic of a lot of our fundraising, because in LA, and I mean, most major cities, actually, there's just like, a poverty line, and like this is totally affecting everybody. It's like starting a recession and stuff. So we're fundraising to help those that need it. So that's kind of like where my work has been going. So like my life is just pandemic. Like,
Oh man.
Yeah. Like I don't even get to like escape the words, and like what we're all living. So that's the sad part about it.
Yeah, I've kind of buried my head in the sand a little bit as far as pandemic news goes, because I don't know, I just get overwhelmed easily. But I'm taking all the precautions, and plus my girlfriend, like, she likes to read all the headlines, so she'll fill me in on the important stuff. But I think it's important to just do the stuff that they're saying that'll help. You wear a mask, you wash your hands, you Clorox the groceries off when you bring them in, all that stuff, and we're doing that.
See, I go back and forth with it that now, like, I hear so many conflicting things about, like, now they're saying, like, you can't, it's, like, nearly impossible to get it from surfaces. Like, that's why I kind of, like, steered away from kind of the news, because you get all these conflicting kind of things about, like, what it is, how it's transmitted, and it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to take all the precautions and be okay with that. Like,
Exactly. Because you see conflicting things every day, like, it's airborne. It's not airborne. It drives me insane.
Yeah, the funniest is getting it from the cellular network. So,
oh yeah,
that's a thing. I mean, it's not a thing, but someone's trying to make it a thing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. 5G's giving it to you, bro. That's exactly it.
Oh my God.
I'm putting my chips on that, where it's coming from.
Yeah, but I wear an aluminum foil helmet every time I'm on the phone, so I'm totally protected.
I'm gonna start doing that. That's a good idea. So I'm always curious about everyone's musical trajectory. So I want to start from the top again and see where everybody came in musically. Did we start with emo? Did we start with hardcore? Did we start somewhere else? So Rishi, give it to me.
Okay, yeah. So let's see. I think I started piano lessons at a really early age when I was 4.
Well, it's going way back.
Yeah. So started with classical, I guess.
Nice.
This is full trajectory from launch pad to current orbit. Rishi's going all the way back.
Yeah, wherever you want to start, it's cool.
Classically trained on the piano, but then really kind of made some headway when I started playing guitar. My brother actually taught me how to play guitar. And I never really had any guitar lessons other than what my brother taught me, and then just kind of ran with it. Piano was great, but I think it didn't really make any sense until I think it was just because I was being told what to play, like going to piano lessons and being like, here, play this, learn this, or whatever. And it didn't really like grow into something for me until I just started like playing my own stuff, like playing what I wanted to play, kind of thing. Once I started like writing my own songs when I was a kid, that I think it really kind of just took it from there. But in terms of like musical tastes, I've been all over the board, man. Like my brother and sister were living in the UK when I was really young, and they spoon-fed me all this Britpop, and it was in the 90s, so I listened to a lot of Blur and Oasis and Radiohead growing up.
Yes.
And even, I don't know, some like Clash and Led Zeppelin. And I think I tried to kind of like emulate Jimmy Page's guitar playing when I was in high school. And then I think I heard a Death Cab song. It was from We Have the Facts and We're Voting Yes. The song's called Title Track. And before I heard that, I was listening to a lot of old music at the time, like Led Zeppelin, Yes, like what I was saying, Pink Floyd. And then I heard that Death Cab track, and I was like, oh my gosh, it like blew my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, there's like so much, or there's like current music out there that is like really amazing, and it changed my life. For sure, that one album changed my life. And the rest kind of just grew from there. In terms of like the Signal Hill post-rock kind of thing, I think the band that really did it for me was Tristeza.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into them pretty soon after I heard that Death Cab song. So back in 2002, when Jimmy LaValle from the album Leaf was still in Tristeza at the time. And that's kind of my first kind of foray into post-rock.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, I started out in hardcore. Like, I would only listen to hardcore, and then I got into more of the classic emo stuff, Texas Is the Reason, Promise Ring, all that, and then I pretty much only listened to that. And I had a post-rock explosion in 2006 that never ended. It's still going on, and Mogwai kicked that off when they released Mr. Beast. So that was like my come to post-rock moment. But
nice.
we'll get into some more of that. Tim, how about you? Give us your trajectory.
Oh yeah, kind of similar to Rish actually. I got into piano young, and influence from my mom. She was a pianist and drum major even, and I didn't really take to it too well. I mean, apparently I could read music before English, but same as Rish mentioned, I had a piano teacher told me what to play, and I wasn't really digging the music, and it kind of turned me off, and then I discovered the drums, and had a teacher in the 6th grade who was like, here's a drum set we just got in the cafeteria up on stage, and after school, if you just want to bang on it, you can do it. And there's no right or wrong, just play. And so I kind of fell in love with the drums and never turned back. Dang, now I'm losing my train of thought. Musical trajectory, yeah. So did the whole school band thing and learned a lot about classical music, and then my mom had a lot of blues and honky tonk kind of background that influenced me, and then started through skateboarding. Found out about hardcore when I was middle school, early high school, and my older brother, was into like Iron Maiden and some of these types of bands, and then really turned me on to like heavier stuff, and then with that kind of palette mixed with all these new little bands around northern New York that I was learning of. I started playing in hardcore bands in the early 90s and touring around, and even through college a bit, and discovered, similar to you, discovered emo, and kind of like Texas Is the Reason you mentioned. That was a big one that kind of turned me, maybe mellowed me out. And from there, and undercurrent and all of this was jazz. Like I started getting into jazz when I was young and playing jazz drums in high school. So that was kind of influencing my playing early on, I guess. But yeah, after college, there was a couple bands that popped up that had this very different sound that I hadn't heard. The Cancer Conspiracy, they only put out a couple quick albums, and then Cinematic Orchestra, very different bands, outside of everything I've mentioned, but they really turned me on to like bigger ideas, kind of more creative storytelling in music. And ever since then, it's kind of been everything. Still digging deep in classical and in jazz. And I honestly don't listen to post rock. I didn't even know what it was. Signal Hill started, we started playing, and some folks started labeling us post rock, and I was like, I guess so. Is that what we are? I don't know, but that's the trajectory.
Nice. Yeah, and I think post-rock and classical and jazz are all linked. There's a lot of similarities. I always call post-rock like the modern classical, because, and
That's
the thing
cool.
I like about it is it can just, you don't need words. Like the songs say so much. Sometimes I can tell what a song is about just by hearing it. It's like I can almost hear words without there being any words, and that's why I get annoyed when like people don't get it, or they're like, "Well, there's no lyrics," and I'm like, "There doesn't fucking need to be lyrics, man. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Like it stands on its own."
Yeah.
Can I tell you a quick story about that?
Please do.
So we started playing together as a band because we had a lot of bands that were commonalities that we loved, but we really just enjoyed each other's company and playing our instruments. And we would just jam. And then what I like to say, you guys, Brian, Rishi, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but we kind of just started playing music for fun. And then people would sit in at rehearsals and be like, "Oh, you guys should play shows." And we're like, "Huh?" And so we started playing shows, and people were like, "Hey, where can I get your music?" And we're like, "What music?" "You guys should record." And we're like, "Huh? Okay." And so we started recording, and then it just kind of kept going. But in those early years, so many people would be asking us, "Whoa, when are you going to get a singer? I think you guys are ready." Or like people would email us and dub their vocals over our songs and be like, "Hey, check this out. What do you think? I could audition." And we're like, "No,
Wow.
that's not our goal." And we entertained the idea early on, and quickly we're like, "I don't think we need that. We just are having a great time doing what we're doing. Why, add a completely different dynamic to the mix?"
Yeah, we flirted with like vocals, and I remember just thinking to myself, like, we would just be jamming so much and having so much fun doing that. Like, we would just forget to like sing sometimes, and like just you would, like, as you would with like most bands with vocals, it's just kind of like hum something or come up with any words that fit. But we'd just be jamming so much and getting into the intricacy of it all that like we would just, hey, this is a lot more fun. And just as Tim said, like it just kind of progressed from there. And vocals was actually like, like we weren't like completely like going into it thinking that we were just going to shut it all out, but it just kind of like got left behind.
So it sounds like things just kind of happened. It's not like, hey, we're into post rock and we're going to start a post rock band. It's like, no, we're jamming and this is it. We might have vocals, we might not, but it ended up happening not.
Yeah, I want to make a point just about, because I tie a lot of stuff to visual art as well, just through my work, and I'm just really into art in general. And I think like my favorite type of art is something that is abstract, that doesn't tell you face value, like this is a painting of a person sitting in their living room or whatever, but it's just something like abstract that the viewer has to kind of just think about it and take it in themselves. And it's a bit more challenging in that regard, but like I think it just allows the viewer to kind of add meaning to it themselves, and that interaction is really important. And so I kind of think back to like music and what we do, and it's kind of the same way, where it's like this is what we're doing, and like we're not telling you exactly what it is. It's just something that you need to fill in the gaps for yourself, and in that way you're kind of, I think the user or the end user or whatever is like, engages with it a lot more, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I like to think about it a little bit. I don't like when it's very plainly laid out for me. Like I think about a lot of older like emo or pop punk bands, and the lyrics would literally be like, "I really like this girl and she didn't like me, and sometimes I think about when she laughed and it didn't work out and I wish that it did." It's like, whoa, yeah. Like, give me some nuance, bro. Come on. So, and Brian. Oh wait, I lost track of where I was.
The musical influences.
Yes, Brian, give it to us.
Trajectory.
Yeah, trajectory. So I actually grew up in a house with a piano. My mom really wanted me to learn how to play, but it didn't take to me either. I remember even the piano teacher apparently telling my mom like she couldn't teach me. She was just like, "No, it's not for him." And so I didn't really have a musical instrument as a kid until like I would say 7th grade. You just end up in an elective, and I just picked up the saxophone because it's just like, middle school band. And like the music that I was listening to at the time was just like, stuff that'd be like on K-Rock, so like your radio rock, which was like a lot of alternative at the time. I'd listen to some hip hop actually, like I was into that, but you're just kind of finding yourself. I didn't have an older brother or sister, or much of a musical influence outside of just like what my parents listened to. And so, yeah, like when I got into middle school, you just meet these friends, and my group of friends were just like a bunch of punk rockers. And so I listened to like a lot of punk rock when I was younger. And but I was playing the saxophone, so I had my mom for my birthday like take me out to buy a guitar. I had no idea what I was buying, so I was like a salesman's dream, just like this young influential kid. They're just like at Guitar Center, like sales guys just like got his fangs into me, like you're gonna need this and you're gonna need that. Like, you know, he just sold me on everything. And yeah, like I would just noodle around on the guitar for a while. I took a couple lessons, but nothing like, you know, nothing really consistent. And then I would say in high school, like, you know, just full on into punk rock, but I got into like hardcore through a band called Strife, and then listened to like some hardcore, and it just went down like a deep like dive into hardcore music. And then I even got into like a hardcore band, and played through that from like high school on to like college even. But there's not a lot of straight edge hardcore kids in LA, in like central LA, believe it or not, at the time. And so, for me, like, you know, it was just kind of trying to find like, you know, other musicians to play with and yada, yada. But, you know, like, yeah, I was like pretty deep into like, you know, the hardcore scene here in LA, like, which was mainly Orange County. So like all the shows were like out in like Huntington Beach, all the way out to like Corona and such, and got pretty like inset into that scene. But with how I got into this band, I mean, like with like hardcore music, you know, everyone just starts flirting with everything else. Like,
Yep.
some hardcore band member ends up in an emo band, right? You know, so we'd all listen to like Texas Is the Reason or something, and then from emo, you know, like it would just go into like, you know, I guess instrumental at some point. Like I did like eventually hear some Mogwai and This Will Destroy You and Explosions in the Sky, and they all had like that kind of just like heavy like guitar riffs that like just kind of, you know, melded well with hardcore music. But the interesting thing I would say how we all kind of got into this band was like, I remember being into like some of the San Diego hardcore stuff, like Impel and stuff, and I think I got into Tristeza also because like of Swing Kids. Like one of the members of Tristeza was in Swing Kids, and so that's how I picked up on the Tristeza. And I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, there's no, like, it's kind of like emo-ish, but it, like, I'm getting that emo feeling out of it, but I'm not like hearing any words. And I just remember like loving it. And Tristeza was just definitely, it was definitely an intro band for me for like instrumental music, as well. So yeah. And then like Death Cab for me, like, that's how I kind of like, I think got along well with Rishi too, was I discovered Death Cab like when I met him. And, you know, so it was all like new to me, but he was definitely the expert. And then when we started off as a band, there's a joke. If Dave was here, he would definitely lay into me about it. Like, so Craigslist is like how some people find musicians, right?
Yes.
I had, I think, like 3 different postings out there, like one looking for a punk band to play in, one looking for a hardcore band to play in, and then one looking for like just like an emo band to play in or something.
I love this story.
I think Dave picked up on, he actually found the hardcore post, and then he answered the emo post. And I think that's how we all kind of like met up.
Yeah, it was Brian, you and I met on Craigslist, and then and then I think we had a session, like a jam session with Dave, and then I think after that he like saw your other hardcore posts and like realized it was like, wait, this is the same guy that like,
because it was formatted just jammed with, but just changed like the words, like just changed the bands, like, but it was like the same wording pretty much. Yeah. And I remember Rishi's post. Yeah, you had some classic rock in there. I'm like, what's all that? And then I just kind of like focused in on all like the Death Cab. You had like all kinds of different music. I think you were just looking for people to play with. But I remember you did have like the Shins and Death Cab, and I was like, oh, I know those bands. And then I was like, what's Yes? And I was like, I'm not into that. Like, but yeah, so that's how Rishi and I met too. So
nice. Yeah, I put a band together in 2017, and we put out one EP before we broke up, and I found our drummer on Craigslist. So the Craigslist community is still thriving. I never had any luck on Reddit. I only found people through Craigslist.
Can I tell a quick Craigslist / instrumental rock story?
Please do.
Promise it's short.
Yes.
Just because we're on the Craigslist bands, I think in the early 2000s there was a ton of bands that grew from findings on Craigslist. Signal Hill, and also our longtime sister band, Beware of Safety. We all kind of formed around the same time, and we toured together a lot. And there was a point, and this is back to listening to jazz and classical. You just are completely comfortable with no vocals. It's just music stands on its own, and it's great. And a lot of people, and it still surprises me, but there's people out there that have no concept of music without vocals. And we were on tour with Beware of Safety in a van. I think there was 9 or 10 of us, all in the van, just the two bands. And we got stopped by a cop. I forget why. It was just like some security check that everyone was getting stopped. And the cop looks in and was like, "What are all you guys doing?" And we're like, "Well, we're couple bands on tour." And immediately he goes, "Which one of you is the singer?" And we all kind of start laughing at the same time. He's like, "What?" And we're like, "Well, we don't have singers." And he's like, "9 of you in the van and not one of you can sing?" It was such a funny moment. But yeah, Craigslist for the win.
So is that how Signal Hill came together? We found each other on Craigslist and started to piece it together?
So you have half the puzzle with Rishi and Brian, and then Dave. If you want to bring in how Dave came along, because Dave brought me into the fold. I had met him briefly at a skate park in Arizona, because Dave's from Arizona, and then we were kind of in touch. We had a few mutual friends in the music scene, but I didn't know Dave very well at all. I just had skated with him once or twice and knew he was a cool kid and whatever. So moved to LA, and then I got a call from Dave. Was like, "Hey, I have been jamming with some folks, and I think you might dig it if you want to come bring your drums and we can play." And yeah, that was how I got brought in, and I could tell we were all trying to find out who we were as a collective, like what our direction was, and that continues still today. Like any good band should keep evolving, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was like the Wild West. I'm like sitting down at the drums thinking, why am I here? Oh, I just want to make music. So why is everyone else here, and what are we doing? And it was fantastic. Can you guys remind how you met up with Dave? Was it also Craigslist?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I think you said that, but you guys all practiced together a few times before me, right?
yeah, like Brian and I had quite a few jam sessions, just us, and I think we were jamming with a couple other guys as well. But then him and I kind of stuck together, and then
Those other guys started a band without us, actually. That's an interesting story. Yeah.
Dave had a MySpace page for his Elegant Elephant project, I think, and it was kind of
Yeah.
the same kind of like twinkly guitar kind of thing. And Brian, did he hit you up? I think he like hit you up, or somehow like we found his MySpace page, and then we were like, oh, we got to jam with this guy.
Yeah, he answered my Craigslist ad. So and then I kind of went back and forth with him, and then I remember just reaching out to you because like it was like already like the end of summer, I think, when Dave hit me up, and then I hit you up, and you had just gotten back to USC, so it was like your first weekend back.
I do remember when you sent me his MySpace page though, and I heard the Elegant Elephant project he was working on. I was like, oh my god, this is like exactly what I want to play. Like this is because it had that Electrist as a vibe, and I got like really excited, and I was like, oh, we got to jam with this guy.
Yeah, it was funny because Dave didn't have a guitar amp, and so I had to like find him a guitar amp, and I think I ended up like borrowing somebody's amp, and then I remember I think like later on like at a show, one of our first like house party shows, like one of Dave's friends like I guess kind of knew me or something like that, or I forget what, but like there was something about like the amp that I borrowed for Dave to use was actually one of Dave's friends or something like that.
Yeah, I still have amps I borrowed from friends, like that are just at my house. I guess they're mine now. It's been a couple years. I'm just gonna hold on to it. So did the first material that you guys wrote, is that the songs that appear on your 2007 self-titled EP?
No.
So there was some earlier stuff, huh?
Oh yeah, the paper bag demo.
Paper bag sessions, yes.
Tell us about those.
Oh man.
Those are pretty funny.
Well, one of the guys that I was friends with, I had jammed with my buddy Nicholas, who I worked at a coffee shop with, and he had some fantastic ideas. He had like more of a classic rock kind of Stones background, but we would kind of jam here and there. And then I think we brought Nicholas in. Maybe how did that happen? You'd think after 16 years I would get this story straight.
You and Dave and Nicholas used to jam.
Oh yeah, it was with
But
Dave before you.
yeah, like Stash. Brian's nickname is Stash, by the way. Stash and I never jammed with Nicholas.
Okay, so Nicholas helped Dave and I kind of develop a concept for a song that ended up on our Signal Hill demo that we kind of expanded on and retooled. It was called Nicholas the Dictator with an emphasis on the dick, because I knew you guys wanted to know that. And so, yeah, we had another friend named Danny Bullets, a friend of Dave, who was a shredder on guitar, and he influenced the title of one track along with Minus the Bear, because we would write songs and name parts after concepts from other records we knew.
I've done that in bands. Like, when we're first writing, there'll be like botch song, hum song. Like, that's how before they have a name.
Yeah, like one of those songs, Tim, the Danny Bullets. The name was called Danny Bullets, but the full title was it was 2 primos, 8 emos, add the bear, and in walks Danny Bullets.
Yeah, because the bear.
Because there was like an emo part, and then like the pre-emo part, and then like the part that sounded like Minus the Bear, and then like Danny Bullets, which was like the name of the song.
Yeah, and Keith, you mentioned botch. I have a botch interview I did in maybe '96 or maybe '97 that I've never put out. I don't know if you want it.
Oh, dude! I mean, I'm drooling right now. They're like one of my all-time favorite bands. Yes, if you would like us to publish that on the Northeast scene, we absolutely will.
Oh, yep. I got it on micro cassette because that's what we did back then.
Awesome. We'll definitely put that up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that and some show footage. I used to record shows a lot when I was in college.
Yeah,
I was always walking around with the 8mm.
We love all that stuff. Yeah, I had a huge collection of high 8 tapes, all the shows we filmed from our hometown back in the day that ended up in the trash because I took too long to go pick them up. And that's kind of how this whole thing started. It's redemption to myself for all those tapes getting thrown out. So now we have some good documentation going on.
Giving back to the scene.
We always have to give back to the scene.
What you're deprived of it by throwing on.
Yeah.
One thing, because you were asking about those like early songs, one thing I did want to mention. So like the songs before that, like 2007 EP. So these like paper bag demos, we're definitely still trying to figure out what we were doing, and they're pretty raw. I remember not using a delay pedal. I had no pedals at the time except for a tuner. And so the guitar is just super raw. And I remember we would like write meandering parts. Like the songs would meander a lot for sure. Right, guys?
Wait, was I still using a double pedal? Did I have 2 more pedals than 3 more with a hi-hat? Rishi, I think I had 3 pedals and you had none.
Your set was more decked out for sure back then.
Oh yeah, it was called the Spaceship.
We definitely had great songs that like we would just like have this like walk up part, and we're like, what are we gonna do next? And we like would go backwards. We're like, all right, let's walk back down, and like
we're the same part but backwards. And then like looking back, it's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that.
Speaking of, so like we fulfilled the demo too with like we did like a Rishi was at USC and he got us like an interview / we played live on the radio show there, and we just stuck it on the demo. And so we have this whole live set on the demo too with an interview. And Tim, for some reason, in like the middle of our like live set goes into like character and starts speaking like with a Cockney accent. And it just goes on for like 5 minutes, and you could just hear like the laughter of like the radio staff just going like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what the hell was I doing? I kind of remember that now.
I think it was because like some of us had the tune, and so like we just, instead of having like a weird like 1 minute long like tuning session in silence, like you just decided that like do some improv.
I was like the hype man. I was the band's hype man with some sort of character and accent. I don't know where that came from.
We used to use those Hulk Hogan samples, like at the beginning, at the end of sets or whatever, and then there's still some like dead space that we didn't have. So yeah, he must have done something like that.
Well, way to step up. Yeah, I was always the mouthpiece, whether or not I should have been, because I was desperate for attention at all times, and usually drunk or high. So I just getting me near the mic was always a disaster. So I first got turned on to you guys. My friend Tommy, my co-host here, gave me a mix CD, so I'm dating myself here, and Signal Hill was on it. It was the song Los Federales from the 2007 EP.
People love that track.
Dude, it's so, you know what I like about Signal Hill? It's so upbeat, because everything I listen to is like pretty moody to a degree, and like I always cringe, like when I'm making dinner with my girlfriend, she'll be like, do you want to put on music? And I'm like, I don't know. Do I pick hardcore or moody post-rock or hip-hop or songs about wanting to do drugs and kill yourself? I don't know. But like Signal Hill is the one band, I think the only band I can put on every time, and it's like, it's a hit. It's cool. It's nice. It's upbeat.
Oh, wow.
It's just pleasant music.
My daughters love it. I've twin 6-year-olds, and they every time they call it daddy's music. Like, Daddy, put on your music, as opposed
That's
to like
fantastic.
daddy's. They don't like my other music. Any of the other music, they're like, is that the one where the guy yells? I'm like, yeah. They're like, I don't want that. You know, it's funny,
Oh, that's
Keith.
awesome.
That Signal Hill didn't even come from me. Signal Hill came from. I mean, I may have put it on a mix for you. Riley found them. A mutual friend of ours, the kid I played lacrosse with in college, he found you guys. And honestly, I think it was, I worked at the radio station in college, and my friend Chris used to come with me, and he was just poking around one day, and he found that CD, and he was like, yo, put this on. And because his family is primarily from California, and he recognized, he goes, oh, Signal Hill's I think it's a city in California, toss this on. And I was like, all right. And I think that was the first track we played, because I think Los Federales is the second track on that CD.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just like, I skipped through it, and I was like, all right, this sounds good, just put this on. And both of us were like blown away, but it came from Riley.
Track 2 is always the best track on a CD. Whenever I listen to a new album, I always go right to track 2, like every time.
Oh, there's for sure a major label formula, and you can find all sorts of document. Oh yeah, for sure. Track 2, 3, 4, and then usually second to last.
Yeah.
I always, I do that with TV shows, because I always think about like when they have like if I'm starting a new TV show that's not like serialized, so like it doesn't matter what order you watch them in. I always try to watch the first season, like the first episode, and then the season, like the closer. Because like typically those are the strongest ones.
Wait. Hold on a second.
This is travesty.
You're
right
telling me you only watch the first and last episodes of a season of a TV show?
Let me rephrase that. I start there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, and then you go back and fill in the rest.
Yeah. So like I do it with like shows like
That's
like,
insane.
Like it's
I
always
do
sunny.
not support this.
Tommy, do you realize this is insane, don't you?
I do it with shows like, all right, so like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like I watched the first, like when the new season came out, I watched the first episode, and I watched the last episode, and then I fill in the blanks.
Tommy,
Like, so if it's bad, is that kind of like the initial test, and then if you don't like either, you're like, okay, I'm just not going to watch the rest.
100%. That's my litmus test. Like, because if the opener and the season closer stink, I'm like, ugh, I don't even know if I want to go through the rest of
now
this.
I could branch off and do a whole rest of the podcast just on how crazy this is, but
Right.
we're gonna save this for one of our later discussions, and I'm gonna segue.
That's gonna be one of those. That's gonna be one of those after show questions where you're just gonna come up to me like, "Yo, what the fuck is with the TV thing?"
Tommy, you're gonna get a stern finger wagging from Keith when this is over.
That is wild. So it sounds like things really came together in that first self-titled EP. That's one I still go back to all the time. It's a classic.
Yeah, that's where we kind of found our initial identity and where we wanted to grow from. Like the Paper Bag demo was kind of a lot of experimentation, as Rishi kind of hinted at, but Yeah.
Like with the EP, we really refined some of those songs too. I know that a couple of them had like different endings. I think Los Federales had a different ending for a long time until we were like, whoa, like this isn't good. We gotta like work through this. And
Trills,
same with
like, we just
Standby.
like,
I wonder if either of you two, Keith or Tommy, if you know that EP well enough, I wonder if either of you, oh, should I tell them guys where the cut is? I wonder if
Yeah,
either of
tell
you
'em.
could identify which track and where there's a hard cut where in the studio we took out, I don't know, a minute or 2 minutes of a
It's about like
song.
a minute.
Oh.
It's an entire part of Trills.
It's a whole part.
I
And
was
we
gonna
just
say, is it in
literally,
a series of? I was gonna guess a series of trills.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, we
it is. Yeah.
Damn.
And we re-listened to the original the other day and we're like, hey, should we put this out again in full form? And we debated it, or not really debated. We thought on it for -4 seconds and said no.
I actually like it in its full form, but that's just me, I guess. Like, it just felt
Okay.
so natural. But Dave was never happy with it. Like, he doesn't like that song at all. And I know he's not here to defend himself, but he is, I think, okay with me saying that he doesn't like that song. But it's funny because it's like one of the more popular songs too. Like, we actually have friends that like it, and I think it's up there. It's kind of ranked too. Like, as far as it's like a top 4 of all our tracks or something.
I think he doesn't like Los Federales either. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which is
And the working
ironic because
title
the original.
actually,
Yeah.
the
Go
original
ahead,
working title actually had his name. So like the original, we joke around with like band titles, like, or song titles before we actually come out with like the more serious title for the record.
Yeah.
So Los Federales was actually originally called Dave versus FedEx because one day before practice, Dave had like a run in at the FedEx office because he was trying to ship out a bass that he sold, and just like got into it with the guy at the counter over like packing peanuts, and like, the guy wanted to like charge like, I think like almost like $100 in shipping, which most of it was just like stuffing for the package. And Dave's just like, I could just go out and spend 75 cents on a newspaper and just use that as packing. And like, it was just like a whole ordeal. And he just came into the practice like all flustered from it. That's the original. Like, every song has like kind of this weird like story behind like the titles. But yeah, Dave versus FedEx, that's the original title for Los Federales.
I love that. I didn't realize how expensive it is to ship from like FedEx or UPS store. I remember years ago I sold a digital delay pedal, the Boss one, and I sold it for like $40. And I'm like, oh, let me go to the UPS store. I didn't know anything about it. And I'm like, they'll ship it. So they pack it all up and they ship it. They're like, that'll be $35. And I was like, and I was too stupid back then to be like, no thanks. So I just let them take it and then took my $5 profit margin on the pedal. That one hurt.
Oh God.
So, all right. So we have the self-titled EP out, and everyone is in California together at this point, right?
Yeah, we're all in
Yes,
LA
yeah.
at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you just playing gigs around LA?
Yeah, at the time,
Yeah.
constantly. We were playing tons of shows back then, right?
Our first year was kind of huge. We put out the demo, did a bunch of interviews, played on the radio, did a West Coast tour, got merch going. Like, we were hyper productive that first year, even though I still consider us one of the least hardworking bands in post rock, because we're just so selfish. We just like to write and play, and but that's why I'm impressed you guys found us, because we're kind of a small band in the scheme of things.
Yeah, and I think about this often. I feel like you guys should be much, much bigger because you're just so good. I feel that you should be on soundtracks and out on tour with the biggest post-rock acts every year. I feel like that should be happening. How about you guys?
Well, we're just doing our thing. Like, I don't know. We're just, we're 4 really great friends. I mean, these guys are my groomsmen in my wedding and stuff, and like, we just do this because we like hanging out with each other, and we like making music that we all enjoy. So that's always been the goal.
Yeah, we've never like made it our like. I think that's the difference. Is like, we've had friends who like, they're like, we're going to put all their effort into making it, and ironically, like, we've probably had the same level of success without trying. And I'm not saying that like, oh, we're like that good, but I would just say for us, it's like we just yeah, like just as Rishi said, like we just like to put out good music. And I mean, if it comes up in conversation and stuff, like, we'll pitch it and be like, oh yeah, like, we play instrumental music. Would you want to use it or something like that? But for the most part, like, we're just there for like, we'll put it out there, and if it gets discovered, it gets discovered to be used or whatever. But, it's never really been like our mission to like get into the industry and hire somebody to promote us or anything like that. Like, it just turned off.
Exactly.
Our original intent was just to have fun hanging out, and in between games on Tecmo Bowl, we'd sit at our instruments and play. And so, because
still like that.
I love that.
it's still like
We still play Tecmo Bowl when I go to LA.
we do, but yeah, we have, I think, such staying power because we genuinely enjoy each other, and there's zero egos in the band, and we just happily make music and put it out, and whatever happens, happens. And so
It seems like that. Like you're not out there touring, 9 months out of the year. It seems like you're just doing it when you can do it and as often as you can do it, like next to everything else. And we had this conversation with our last guest, Corey, from the guitarist from the band Glassing. And his approach is kind of the same as mine. Is I was never really willing to like give it all up to be out there on the road because there's just been so much instability in my life. I need that stability of a job, and like I want to be able to live by myself because I can't stand other people and all that kind of stuff. So is it like that for you guys too, to a degree?
Yeah, I mean, like I personally like love touring and I love playing shows and stuff. But yeah, like I mean, I want stability in my life. Like I don't want to like sleep. I want to be able to like stay at a hotel and not sleep on like the floor of like the punk house. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
which we've all done.
And I love being able to like afford like bass strings and whatever, but like we found like some success, and like, our music ended up being used in some commercials and some like web stuff. And I remember early on, like the big thing was like, I think Disney picked up like one of our tracks, and that actually helped like pay for
Marketing that movie, The Help. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
International
Yeah,
trailer
so-
for The Help. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of like when we get these little like side things, it's always a little exciting. But yeah, I mean, like for us, like for me personally, it's like I love just like spending time with these guys. Like, so it's always like that's why I love touring and playing shows, because like that's my chance to like hang out with these guys. And then also like when we record, I'm always like the first person to say like, can we just record in one city instead of doing it in our separate cities, and then that way we're all together. And like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but we were supposed to go on tour before this COVID thing hit, and we were going to do the East Coast and we were going to do the UK.
Oh,
And,
absolutely. I was all set and ready to go. I was very excited for that show.
Yeah. So that was going to be cool for me because it was like 3 weeks of hanging out with these nerds. So,
Yeah. So do you think those shows will be rescheduled at some point? I hope so, because I would love to see you guys
Yeah.
again.
Definitely.
For
We will.
sure.
Good. Yeah, I actually caught you. Now, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I follow you guys on social media, and I saw that, someone, let me think here. Oh, this was around when Alturas came out. Now, was that when someone moved to New York, or was that when Rishi moved to the UK?
I think we had released Alturas when I was already in the UK. So yeah, we were already in 3 separate cities. At
Yeah,
that point.
Distance marked our first recording where Rishi was.
I was away in the UK for school then.
Yeah.
Okay, because I saw that Rishi was moving to the UK, and I was like, oh, I guess the band's going to be done then. And then you're like, nope, here's Alturas, and we're playing some shows. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. So, but let me go back a little bit. Now, self-titled is 2007. So is the next record the first LP, More After We're Gone?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, 09 I think it came out, right?
That is a classic post-rock LP. That is like probably definitely in my top 5 of all-time favorite post-rock albums. So
Oh, no way. Thanks, man.
props
Yeah,
for
thank
that. It's and my go-to track, I tell everybody this, Stunning Clarity. I say it is impossible to listen to that song and be in a bad mood. Impossible.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Thank
that's
you.
awesome to hear.
Yes, I always have a vivid memory of, I was in LA for 2 weeks for work. Like, it's rare that I had to stay over the weekend, but now let me say this. I used to get myself into a lot of trouble, and with partying too hard and all that stuff. So I'm in LA for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I don't know anybody. What am I gonna do? So I'm like, you know what? Let's go out and have a drink and eat some food. So I drove to Beverly Hills, and went and got some food and a beer. And I remember listening to Stunning Clarity on the way driving down there, and I was just like, this is good. It's all good. So I always think of that when I think of that song.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So tell us
Awesome.
about that
Thanks.
record. Tell us about some of recording it and releasing it, and it's a classic.
Oh man,
Yeah,
there's a lot there. You guys want to start? I'm
It's really
overwhelmed.
it's hard to think back to that, huh?
Can I ask one thing just real quick, especially for Rishi? What tuning do you use? Like,
Oh, man,
have you
so-
changed from album to album, or like?
I kind of wish Dave were here to answer that question because he might have a cooler answer than I do. But no, man, I keep it standard pretty much through and through.
Okay, good.
I think
Yeah,
I
it's what
think I
it's-
drop
yeah.
drop D every now and then, but yeah,
Dave's the one with the weird tunings, right? We're
Yeah.
always waiting on Dave to tune between songs.
yeah. Actually, Dave's tunings basically dictate the order of the set list for sure. It's like, okay, wait,
Yeah.
I have to tune in between this one and this one.
Okay, so that's good to know, because we would like stay up all night, and I remember one specific night we were up all night just playing guitars along to More After We're Gone, and I play almost
Get out of
exclusively in drop D, so it was close. That's why I guess that's why it worked.
Man, that was a really fun record. You'll hear the Twin Peaks samples. We were really always into Twin Peaks, but Dave hardcore into Twin Peaks, and that little instrumental. Just side note that it's called "Men Before Them," right? With the sample, Rish had found the sample. From it was from Waking Life, right?
Yeah,
That animated.
Oh
it's,
my God! Yeah, the one.
Dr. Eamon Healy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
this is-
weird, neat little film, man. That's one of those ones that I had. There was a video store up in where I went to college, and it went out of business, and they were selling all their stuff, and I saw that, and I just saw the cover of it, and it looked like they filmed and then they animated over top of what they filmed.
Yeah,
so I was like, all right,
exactly. Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm just gonna fucking buy this. I think it was $1, and I got home and I put it on, and my friends were like, what the fuck are you watching? And I was like, there's a handful of like really, really profound things in
Definitely.
that film. There's some really some wonderful thinkers in there that you just go,
Yeah.
I had never considered that. There's also some off the wall shit too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But what's cool about that? I was actually born in Austin, Texas, but moved to New York before elementary. But most of my family still lives around Austin, and immediate family had moved back. So when I was in Austin, I had found that this Dr. Ian was a professor at St. Edward's University in Austin. So I just drove over there, went to his office hours, and brought him a record. And he was so excited. He was like, "Oh man, I remember," because we had his permission beforehand to use this sample, and he was so excited to have it. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I play this album for my students, and they really dig it, and they give me props. I got cool points from my students for being on a record."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think that sample really worked for. I'm thinking back now, and it finally kind of came to me that I think the album was kind of about this theme of evolution and cyclical, kind of just everything repeating, and I think that sample kind of really helped kind of drive that theme home a bit.
Yeah, Rishi, you picked the sample. It was awesome, and you actually made that, right, with the beats and everything.
Yeah, I think it was that was a bedroom one. Just kind of recorded some of those things in the bedroom. But that was just that song, just that one. It was like a little interlude.
So did you see a big jump after that LP? Did you do any more touring or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say we kind of grew up a bit and got a broader reach, and with that we started playing out a little bit more
Yeah,
outside of
'cause
LA.
that was when we played in Australia, right, Tim? So that was
yeah.
July of 2009. I think that record had already come out, and that was when we went to Australia to play a few shows there.
Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Yeah,
how the hell did that come about?
Brian, I think you helped book it, right?
I know.
Through All India
This
Radio.
goes back. All India Radio
Yeah.
became pals. Yeah, Brian, maybe you want to tell us how All India Radio come to LA and tour with us.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember like Rishi, you played them on your radio show, and I just remember liking the song a lot. And so I like looked them up. Like MySpace was like actually like kind of a great website or resource to like meet other bands. And I remember just like reaching out to them directly on there and letting them know that, you know, we played in a band and that we liked their music, and we kind of discovered it on like college radio or whatever. And so when All India Radio like was planning, I guess like some shows in the US, like their first ever like kind of like US tour.
Yeah, they're a
Yeah.
Melbourne-based band.
Yeah, so they reached out and you know, they did book like their East Coast stuff without me because I didn't have any really contacts for them then. And then but all the West Coast stuff I booked for them, and we ended up like sort of kind of hopping on to like part of their tour, and then we just became friends with them because we shared a van with them, and I mean it was great, and they just like were like by the end of the tour they were like, you have like, I think, what did they say, like a year to come out to Australia and play.
Oh yeah, they did give us like a lighthearted ultimatum.
Yeah. And so we kind of took it upon ourselves to take them up on that idea. And we actually played with Sleep Makes Waves before. We actually like had them open for us, which is crazy.
Yeah,
and now
they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Is that
yeah, and then we
random
played
like art space in
Yeah.
like in Sydney, in
Sydney,
Marrickville? I think.
yeah, like near Chinatown or something. Well, we only played 3 shows in Australia. We played 2 in Melbourne, which I would say was kind of cool because we got to experience like, we played like the big like stage show with All India Radio, and then like a couple days later we played like a warehouse party, which I guess is like a thing there. Which
Yeah.
I guess they have these communes in which they have these old factories from the 40s that people live in now, and what they'll do is they'll just like have a party there. They'll make flyers and they'll like have $5 beers and charge at the door, and then they'll like you know, bands and DJs will set up. And we played with some pretty cool acts, like, you know, just in like a party setting, and then we would all dance afterwards. Like,
Oh,
so
that
was
great!
like,
There was a little recording studio and all these artist studios, like everything from painters to pottery and
tattoo artists and stuff. Yeah.
That was Irene's warehouse, right? Irene's warehouse. It was like a
Irene,
converted.
yeah.
It used to be like a lingerie factory in like the
Yep.
40s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we just like made it like also like kind of a vacation as a band. So we played 3 shows and we got to hang out in Australia together.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a great time. So I think I remember seeing on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken, your first East Coast show was in Pennsylvania, was in 2010, 2011, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That sounds
and-
about right.
Was it in Westchester?
It was in
that one?
Westchester, yeah, at the Social Lounge, because I remember taking the bus up from Philly to catch you guys. So I was
Yeah.
at that gig. That was a good one.
So,
Oh no way!
So
cool.
Yeah,
what
so
did-
you saw North End.
Yes. Wait, did I? Yes, I did. I did.
what had happened was in 2009 we went on that Australia tour in July, and then that's when I moved out of LA. So I flew to Edinburgh, where I went to grad school that August, September-ish. And so like I had to break the news to the guys that I was leaving LA. But then soon after that, Dave actually ended up moving to New York. And that's kind of when we started to try to figure out how we were going to do these things like at a distance or from a distance. And then after I finished grad school, I moved to New York. And so Dave and I were there kind of like writing together, and like Brian and Tim were still in LA kind of writing together. And so at that point we started to make a base in New York as well. And that was kind of like December 2010 when I moved out there. So I think that 2011 date sounds right, because then we started to kind of like be more active in like the Northeast area, play more shows in that area. So
And that must be where the name of the classic 2010 EP Distance came from.
Yep, there you go.
Look at that. See, it's all coming together now. Now, is there ever a central theme around your EPs or LPs?
Almost always.
I'll ask for the classic 2009 LP more after we're gone. Is there a central theme around that whole record?
go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. Oh no, I was just gonna say Twin Peaks. That's all. If there's like a different answer, then it's gonna be new to me. So,
Like we got some of the song titles from like a clip in Twin Peaks, like a sample in Twin Peaks that we used to use. But
Agent Dale Cooper.
yeah, exactly. But I think like in terms of the overall theme, it was definitely that like idea of like evolution and kind of like cyclical life, and the idea of like more after we're gone, just meaning that like, you know, this will happen again, though it may not be us kind of
yeah,
thing.
what Rishi said.
So it sounds like we're big Twin Peaks fans.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I've only seen the first episode of the last one, so
Yeah, of course, of course. You know, I've never watched Twin Peaks, and I kind of refuse to at this point, because it's like it's just so massive, like, and it's just people tell me to so much that it just makes me not want to. So I'm like dug in a hole. I can't get out of it.
I hate shows that are overhyped. Shows mean more to me when I've discovered them myself. Kind of like
Exactly.
bands, you know.
Exactly.
But you know, when you're ready, Keith, it's actually worth it.
Yeah, I'm not saying I won't ever do it, but I'm just saying right now it's not the time. So yeah, that it was awesome seeing you guys for the first time in Westchester, and then again the last time I saw you, I think it was your last show. Was your last show at Matchless in where the
Yeah.
hell is that?
Yeah.
Williamsburg, Greenpoint?
Yeah, that sounds right.
2016, right by Green. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly
Was
right.
it
Right
that
by
long?
McCarran
I can't
Park.
believe it's already like 4 years ago. That's crazy.
Can you believe it? Yeah, I have some footage of that show, so I'll be sure to repost it this week when we celebrate
Awesome.
this
you.
soon-to-be legendary episode of the podcast. And what was I going to say? Something. Oh, that place is closed now, Matchless.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Closed
it's
down.
a bummer.
It was an awesome spot. I've seen some good shows there, and that was actually where I played my last show in some band I was in 2017. So yeah, that
Okay.
I walk by it all the time because I live pretty close to there.
And did it close around 2017 or like 2018?
Uh,
probably a couple
2019,
years
I
now.
think. 2018,
Okay.
2019. Yeah.
I think, by the way, like Van Gogh Sky, I think when we had first Pennsylvania show in Westchester,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was like that was the first time we played that live too, and we were, I think, really apprehensive about playing it.
Yeah, that was all. Yeah, that was the first time and the last time we've ever played that song live. Because after we played that, we were like, maybe it's not a live song.
It's one of my favorite Signal Hill songs ever. Actually, if I had like a handful, if people are like, "What do you sound like?" I always throw that in the mix.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think my top two are Stunning Clarity and Pacific Northwest. And folks, if you're listening, check out Stunning Clarity on More After We're Gone, and Pacific Northwest is on Chase the Ghost, the 2013 LP. Those are two of my favorites. And California is too long. I love it because the song title, and I really feel that because I travel for work a lot. And California is too long. I'm just saying that. And I was actually, last summer, I was doing a lot of travel for work, Northern California, Southern California, and I actually went to Signal Hill.
Okay.
Like it's that big hill where there's the overlook, right?
Yeah, the tower.
Where is that? I forget. Is that Southern California?
Next to Long Beach, it's LA Metro.
Okay, so I was there, and I took some footage that I used to make a music video for my own band. So we're now connected
nice.
in that
Nice.
way. Yeah, and
Nice.
California is Too Long. The song that used to be the song like every weekend, like before I went out to be a total disaster and drink and get high and all that stuff. I would listen to California is Too Long. That was like my song before I went out
Oh,
to cause trouble.
amazing.
So good times.
Yeah, I'm driving up to Oregon next week, so I'm going to be experiencing a very long California drive.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah.
spoken like a true northeasterner. Like, everything's so compact and dense there. Like,
Yeah.
where I grew up, and then the wide open West, everything takes forever.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was in where the hell Southern California again, and my friend's band was playing at the observatory, and I was
Oh, yeah.
staying in where the hell was it? I don't remember, but it was like a 3 mile drive or something like that. And I was like, oh cool, this will take 20 minutes. And then I get on, I look at the GPS and it's like 1 hour and a half, and I was like, what? And I'm like, oh right, LA freeways. Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about that. But the
Yeah.
Northeast is so like I'm so spoiled by Manhattan and Brooklyn. Like if I have to walk more than half a block to go to a corner store, like I'm annoyed. I mean, you have everything right here: grocery store, laundromat, dry cleaner, corner store. It's all right there.
Yeah, that was one thing I enjoyed about living in Brooklyn, was like not having to go to Manhattan on the weekends, because I could just do what I needed to do in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and if you live in Manhattan, you don't go to Brooklyn, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like Manhattan to me was just somewhere I went for work, pretty much. But I've always
Yeah,
liked
exactly.
hanging out in the East Village and the Lower East Side. So now that I live here some of the time, it's interesting. Now, do you guys? I find this where I live. It's hard for me to find like post rock people. Like I always end up going to the shows alone. It's hard to find people to go to shows with in general. Do you guys find that where you are, or do you still go to a lot of shows? Rishi, let's start with you. Yeah, because you live in the UK now. Like, what's the story over there?
Yeah, I still go to a handful of shows. I think I certainly like gotten more picky with the shows I go to, but have a couple close friends here that that are into similar music. So yeah, in general, we'll try to go see shows together. I think actually the last show I saw here in London, Stash, aka Brian. Sorry, I like using his nickname.
Does
Stash,
he
Statulo.
does he have a mustache or something?
off and on.
For a
Brian,
long
Stash,
period, he
do
did.
you have a stash right now?
I don't have a stash right now. I shaved 2 days ago, but the story behind the nickname stash was there was this real period of like laziness that happened in which I just stopped shaving and I had this like really bad like dad mustache, and it just awkward. I don't think it really looked good, and yeah, I think I was one of the first two out of all of us that really did that, and so
Yeah, you definitely
I
were.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I looked like it was like if like someone in like when you're in middle school and you decide to grow your mustache, that's
The
like
dirt
how
on
bad
lip.
yeah, dirt on lip. So,
Like,
and I just like didn't give a shit. I was just like, I just have this fucking mustache. No one spells it like Stache. They all spell it Stash or something like that. I don't know.
yeah.
Like
Got
when
a
they
secret
refer to me,
stash.
so secret stash. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
you're-
That's my mind goes right there. I heard like stash, and I'm like stash of drugs or stash of guns or something like that.
Well, amongst all our friends, I will say though, like you either have a nickname or you just get called like by your last name.
Yeah.
So like you call Tim like Tim Baba, and like I don't know, like we all have all kinds of weird nicknames for each other.
But Brian, yeah, your last name's Vasallo, but you say Vasallo a lot so people can spell it, and then it evolved to Stashilo. So a lot of the Beware of Safety guys
Stashilo.
like to call
Yeah.
you Stashilo.
So,
Yep.
Rishi, you moved to the UK. Do you have friends over there already, or do you have to make new friends? How does that work?
Well, yeah. So since we've been here for 5 years, like, kind of just have a little group of friends here, and I mean, it's like New York, LA, like in a sense that people kind of come and go.
Yeah.
Just big city. People are here for a couple years and go. So we've had a few really close friends leave, which is always sad. But yeah, have a couple close friends. Like I was saying, go to shows with. And I was saying the last show I think that I went to was actually when Stash was visiting. Back in September of last year, and we saw the album Leaf at this venue called the Union Chapel, which is a really cool venue because it's like a converted church, basically, and it's like the album Leaf playing in a church, and is very cool in a sense that like the first time I saw the album Leaf was when I was a kid in San Diego at a teen center, and like it was just him, and he was set up on the floor, like with his keyboards literally on the floor, and everyone was like sitting down. There was probably like 15 kids, like 10, 15 kids just sitting down watching him. And now I'm like seeing him in London in this like massive chapel, and it's just beautiful. And he's got this like lighting set up. And Stash, you were there, like,
Oh my God, it was so surreal. I have so many photos and videos of that. And I think it's also just because, I mean, I've never, like, that trip for me, like, I visited Rishi, like last fall, and you know, I had actually just gotten out of a relationship. So it was just like doing a lot of solo traveling, and like, yeah, going to a concert in the UK was pretty awesome. And then, you know, so it was just like a surreal experience. And then it was kind of nice to actually be there. I actually met Tom from Good Weather for an Airstrike there too. And so it was just like, yeah, like nice meeting you in person. We'll see each other potentially on tour, which never happened, unfortunately. But yeah, like it was just a fun show to go to. It's like nothing that I think you really experience here in LA either.
I was just really excited to see that show with you too, because like I don't know, we just grew up like listening to Album Leaf and Tristeza and stuff, and it was like really formative for us. So it was cool like having you here for that.
So Tim, you're out in LA.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here for good shows, and I don't go to them as often as when all the guys were here. But yeah, and I don't really listen to much post rock, so if I'm out at a show, it's probably something random, either jazz or I don't know, it's kind of random, funk or jazz or experimental music.
I got you. So no more hardcore shows? We won't find you in the pit?
Well, it depends. There's some good reunion shows. I got to see Gorilla Biscuits again a few years ago, and a lot of the Revolution Records bands. But now I've mellowed out for sure. Although the other day, when I found you guys were in Pennsylvania and had somewhat of a hardcore background, I put on Starkweather and got really excited again. Do you remember Starkweather?
Yeah, I saw them one year at Hellfest, and I actually haven't checked them out on record much, but I remember really digging them. I was like, wow, this is good.
Yeah, once I got to be in the mood, but yeah, not so much on the hardcore tip.
Got you. Now, Brian, you grew up and still live in Los Angeles, correct?
I do, yeah.
So you probably have a pretty tight network out there.
I don't.
What happened?
No, I mean, I still have friends out here. I still play in a band. I play in another band. So we play like kind of like more like heavier kind of punk. But yeah, like so that's probably like my music like connection like to the scene here still. But yeah, I we like hardcore like it for this area, like it's kind of like its own new thing now. Like everything that I listened to, that Tim listened to, like growing up, like it's not even like the same anymore. But there's like newer hardcore bands, and it's kind of like its own scene now. But I mean, it's kind of weird to go to shows and just like, you're like the old guy now for sure. Like
exactly. And I don't have any friends in New York City who listen to like anything that I do. So if I go to a show, it's by myself or with my girlfriend, and I don't think I would subject her to bringing her to like a full on hardcore show. I've taken her to see like Cave In and Holy Fawn and like like good bands that have some more crossover appeal. So I don't know. I find myself just not going to hardcore shows up here because it's not fun to go by yourself. I'm like, what? I'm just gonna stand here like and watch it. I don't know. I can't do that. So
yeah, I would only go to a hardcore show with like one of my friends. Like, I don't think I'd go by myself.
Yeah, and so I but Tommy and I would go to like This Is Hardcore every year down in Philly, and typically the hardcore shows I end up going to are down there, and I'll like meet up with him and other people. So it's going to shows by yourself isn't the most fun for me.
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever been to a show by myself. I've always gone, like, it's always been like a social activity. It's always been something like, oh, I'm meeting my friends. Like I could maybe travel there by myself, but I'm never alone there at the show.
Yeah, the thing is, like, everyone comes through New York. So like every band that I have to see or want to see comes through here, and a lot of them will play at St. Vitus too, which I live pretty close to. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, oh well, I have to go. Now since I have you all on the line, who in the band is the biggest pain in the ass? Let's get it all out in the open.
Oh no.
I'm probably the one that I'm probably the one that says things when he shouldn't more often. Rishi, the other guys are more reserved.
I used to be out of control, okay? And I've since gotten my act together, but people would not want to go to shows with me because I would heckle and yell things, and I was just a problem. So Tim, give us an example of you saying things that you shouldn't.
Not so much that I shouldn't, but more like going on tangents and having a concept of where I was mentally in my train of thought and nobody else being close to where I was.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when they were tuning on this old radio show back in the day, I just decided to fill the time with some nonsense. So, yeah, never so much of like the problem child, like heckler type, but just absurdity to pass the time.
That's right. You were doing the Cockney accent, right? That was you.
It may or may not have been.
Tim,
was-
Tim, I
it
have
was
I have a hard time with that too because I don't read people really well, and sometimes I just don't know my audience, and I'll start telling a story, and midway through the story, I'll look up at people's faces, and they're either chuckling along with it or they're like completely like mouths agape, like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna stop talking about what I'm talking because I'm clearly bothering you.
Yeah, Tommy really takes you on a journey. Like when he's telling a story. Like you ask me what I had for breakfast, I'm like, bacon and egg on an everything bagel. And Tommy's like, yo, so get this, all right? Now we didn't have anything in the store, so I had to go to the store. And then I'm like, whoa, give us the short
That's
version.
good. Yeah.
So, what are now? Signal Hill seems like a pretty chill band of friends who all get along. It doesn't seem like many controversies, but are there any difficulties that you guys have had to overcome in your journey as a band?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, to go back to what you asked, like, we've all probably been pain in the asses at some point.
Yeah.
With each other, like, for sure. I'm so fortunate because I've definitely been in band drama to, like, with these guys, like, we all seem to, like, get over it pretty quickly and really just, push things aside. And yeah, there's definitely been difficulties because, like, we all, like, have at this point, like, even just, like, reached, like, we live our lives, and lives definitely dictate, like, it's definitely counter to, like, being a musician, like, I remember I was the first to have a daughter. Like, I had a, like, my wife at the time got pregnant, and, I had to take, like, a band hiatus for, like, a few months. Like, I couldn't just go to practice, like, 2 nights a week. So that kind of sucked. But then I was able to, like, get back into it again. So that happens. And then I remember when, like, Rishi and Dave talked about moving to New York, like, we were all actually pretty heartbroken about it at first because we just didn't know what that meant for the band. I remember Tim mentioning that he was kind of, like, bummed out about it, but, and we were all, like, a little skeptical on even, like, how the whole, like, staying connected would work. But here we are, we're probably, if anything, just as connected as we were when we were all hanging out together. Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like, we've all, like, definitely, like, I've definitely disagreed with, like, decisions that we've made and stuff like that. And it's always tough to, like, plan shows and tours and stuff. It's never easy for some reason, but it happens for sure. But we have some funny moments. Like, I could share some, like,
Please do.
I remember one time in New York, like, we were trying to get, like, a car to, like, carry equipment out of the show, and like one of us had to kind of stay out in the cold and, like, wait for the car to come because all the equipment was, like, out on the sidewalk. And I remember, like, Rishi, like, getting on the phone to call the car company, but he just got into an argument with the guy. And then he just, like, was like, sorry, man. And then he just, like, went back inside. And I was just like, what did you do? Like, are they coming? Like, so, like, that happened.
I don't remember that at all, but it sounds.
You have been drinking,
like,
yeah,
reasonable.
yeah. We've had to, like, one funny story. We had to pull Dave away from, like, getting into a street fight because he, like, pissed off some
that
guy.
was incredible.
Oh, let's hear about that.
Story.
Wait, is this in San
That's the
Francisco?
battle rap
That's San
story,
Francisco,
right?
yeah. The battle rap story, yeah.
I can fill that
I feel
in.
bad
real
that
quick
Dave's not
because
here to talk about it, but
It actually
Dave
is a
got-
good question for Dave to be absent for, because your question of who's like the problem child, because Dave is like the antithesis of a problem child. He's so calm and
Yeah.
cheerful and stable in demeanor. You would never like. Yeah, he's like our
He's our
lifeboat,
rock
maybe.
for sure. Yeah,
Our rock.
he's our PR guy for sure. Like the fact that he's not on this doing that kind of sucks. After we're done playing, we all want to just like chill sometimes and just like, people come up to us and want to talk and we'll talk. But Dave is so nice. Like he'll talk to everybody and he's always in a good mood and he makes friends with people fast. And
He's the most engaging.
Yeah, he's the most engaging. And so it sucks that he's not here, but it's so like to tell this story, it's funny because it's like, how did that happen? So we played this show in San Francisco and it was like an afternoon show. So it was really weird, but Dave had already was 2 drinks in, like as soon as we were done playing. And when we were leaving the venue, it was like a Friday or Saturday night. And so like people were like out in the streets and these kids were like freestyle rapping on the corner. And they were like, what is it when they're like trying to like put each other down and stuff like that?
Oh, like battle rapping?
rapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, battle rap. Sorry. And so Dave just like the guy was like kind of picking on Dave.
Yeah, you just
Brian, can I paint a quick picture of Dave?
Go for it. Go for it.
In this scene, right? Dave is like the pro of us, right? In the sense that if you see him on the street, you would never maybe think he was in a band because he'll have like a button-up shirt with a sweater over it and maybe some nice loafers, and so and that's how he performs too. He has this look, and so we're finished with the show and we're loading the van across the street, just a couple doors down, and between the venue and the van is this group of kids, and they're like having a battle rap. And Dave's carrying gear, looking like this white guy, in a collared shirt. And then they start taunting him. Or I don't know. I wasn't there for the beginning of it. But
the kid just walked up to him and started like battle rapping him just right in his face. Like out of
that's
nowhere,
awesome.
he started doing it.
And he picked on the wrong person. And he had no clue that Dave is into hip hop and has some good hip hop roots. And Dave just started, rapping back, and the kid
he tore him
was
apart.
like,
He tore him apart.
Oh my God! Dave just shut this kid down, and he was in the circle, and his friends were holding him back, and his friends were like cheering and laughing at what Dave was rapping. Oh my God!
Always remember the first line Dave pulled, and I'll pull it right now, real quick. This is the first thing Dave said. You call those rhymes a diss? You sit on the toilet when you take a piss. that was the first line.
And then it just got worse from there, and his friends were like, "Oh shit!" And it was so funny. And so basically, his friends just pulled him away, and they dispersed because Dave was like, "Yeah, we got to load our van." and just to that point, this record Distance that we put out, we hand numbered. We were going to number all the copies. What were they? 200 or 300 or 250? And we're like, what if instead of numbering them, we name them? And we made this whole spreadsheet of funny stories, names, anecdotes, places we played. And we hand named every single Distance album. And one of them was called Battle Rap after Dave's epic takedown of this kid on the street.
I love that. That's incredible.
Battle Rap out of 250.
So everyone in the band seems pretty level-headed. Do you have any crazy stories like drug deals gone wrong or gun running or like anything like that?
Well, none of us are troublemakers, so there's no like super lewd like fight stories or anything like that.
Right. Now on that point,
just misadventures.
On that point, I have an idea. Now, you know how there's like tough guy hardcore bands and like crazy rock bands. I want to start the first tough guy post-rock band. I don't think that's been done yet. Like everyone in the band will be like pretty threatening and have a lot of tattoos. Will be like wild partiers. Like there'll be a lot of crazy onstage antics. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah. I'm all for it. I mean, yeah, why not? A lot of shit talking.
Yeah,
There'll
be like rivalries with other post-rock bands, and we'll have diss tracks like "This Won't Destroy You." That'll be a song, or like, stuff like that, like that.
Or like, Mog, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eat this knuckle sandwich.
I'm trying to think of some. I'm trying to think of one for Signal Hill, but I can't. Like Signal Unthrilling, maybe. No.
So
Oh,
so
no.
it would be
I
like
take-
it would be like a bad
that's
luck
a good one because
13.
I'm offended. No.
We have been called Single Hill before.
Single Hill.
Oh,
Yeah. And so we were thinking
Rishi,
about
tell
thinking,
them what record that was on and where to find it and who commissioned it.
No, it was a comp. There was like a comp that like used one of our songs, and then they like just misprinted like 5,000 CDs with like the wrong name.
yeah. We're thinking
Oh,
about.
I thought that was the Kanye West album. No,
I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
wasn't that the?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Vitamin Records put out this album, a tribute to Kanye West. It was like the College Dropout, but like some kind of indie rock take on that album.
Well, this
And,
is the shameful "What We Will Do for Money."
I think
Yeah, they're like,
put it
"Do you
in,
wanna-"
they're selling it at Walmart, I think.
Yeah, so we were billed on that album. We submitted a track. We did a cover song of Family Business by Kanye West. This is like 2003 or 4, right?
I know
No,
that's
4 or
that's
5.
it's off College Dropout. Yeah, no, I know that song.
Yeah, maybe like 2005,
Yeah.
2006, something
I
like
think
that.
Rishi made the beat or made the line for it while you were in India on vacation. But anyways, we were called Single Hill on that comp.
But totally by accident, but turned out to be a good thing.
So let's talk about some other bands we're involved in. We can plug them. Let's start with Rishi.
Yeah, sure. So I started a project out here in London with a friend called We Say Yes. It's kind of like a emo / shoegaze thing. We released an EP last year called Paradise Waits, and yeah, pretty excited about it. Haven't done much with that project the last few months. I've actually been focusing on another project called Sky Is Alright. And in Sky Is Alright, I'm playing guitar and singing, and I have a friend back in LA that's playing drums. And we just recorded a full 8 songs for our debut album. Recorded it. Luckily, I was in LA in February before the whole like lockdown thing started, and we recorded it all there. So it's being mixed right now, and hoping that will come out later this year. So yeah, that Sky Is Alright has kind of like a 90s throwback, like grunge, emo kind of thing going on, like early Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, I got to check that out. That's right up my alley, because that's
Cool.
kind of what my band was too, like hum worship with a bit of
yeah.
post-hardcore edge. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's fun, kind of like been working on those songs, just in terms of like vocal melodies, and it's just kind of like a different thing for me, and quite enjoy it, writing lyrics and stuff. So
Awesome. How about you, Tim?
Aside from working on new Signal Hill stuff, I noodle around on acoustic guitar whenever I can. And back in 2010, my good buddy Steve Moulter from he's a guitarist in Beware of Safety. We started a project together. I think it was actually. Oh yeah, the script came after. Okay, so we just started playing some wide open instrumental, spacey kind of stuff that took on almost a Western tinge. And then we kind of I would play the Rhodes keyboard and acoustic guitar, and Steve would play electric guitar with lots of effects, and add layers to it. And then we started thinking that the music was telling a story, so we shifted from music writing to writing a 3-act play based on a Western tragedy we kind of drummed up, and then that turned into a screenplay. And then now that didn't go anywhere. We're still finessing it, but we took a long break, like an 8-year break, and now we're back to writing music again. But we did take basically the music from the second act of that play that we were kind of going towards, and that became our first EP that we put out. The project is called the Azure Vault, and it's streamable on all the platforms. And we had a ton of fun making that, and so now we're revisiting so much music we had started developing and never finished. So we're kind of back on the rails for that. which is super fun.
That sounds awesome. That's something I've gotten into. I love putting music to video. I'm doing some of that, and I started taking some acting lessons, and I was like in a play last year. I don't know. I'm on the fence about whether I'll do any more of that, but I like the idea of like, composing music and pairing it with images and all. I would like to get into some more of that. How about you, Brian? What else you got going on?
Yeah, so if I'm not playing bass, I play guitar, and so for like the last 3 years, I've been playing guitar in a band called Last Good Sleep, and it's mostly like it started off kind of like poppy punk, but it got heavier for sure, and it's myself, a friend here from the South Bay, and two friends from like Central California, or originally from Central California. It's like the singer from Funeral Diner, and then another singer from the band The Furloughs. Yeah, it's like, I would say like kind of like a hardcore punk sound. We did a split 7-inch like our first year with the band called The Pretty Flowers, and then we did like a West Coast tour, and then like we've been sort of trying to put together this EP for like the last year, but with this pandemic, it's kind of put the brakes on it a little bit. We recorded vocals actually like a month ago, and I think we're just trying to mix it now. So hopefully we'll have like a record out like by this fall, but we'll see. Or like not out by this fall, but hopefully like in pressing by fall. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever really get to do much. We'll see how the record takes before we make any other plans like on touring or anything like that.
Right. Awesome. So, two other questions about Signal Hill before I forget. Let's start with the first one. How do you guys write since we're like living internationally now?
Carrier pigeons.
You put the thumb drive in the little pigeon backpack, and then he flies it back to the stateside, and then. So
we just roll up transcriptions of sheet music. We roll them up, tie them up with a little bow, and tie them around the feet of the pigeons, and off they go.
I mean, I like that you're doing it so old school. Now tell us some of the process and software and hardware you're using, if you are, because this is something I myself would like to get into. So I'm interested in the process.
Yeah, I think in terms of like new song ideas, we've been working on quite a few recently, like the last year or two. And generally what will happen is Dave and I will kind of send ideas back and forth. And just in terms of like riffs. And I think Dave uses Logic. I'm a little ashamed to admit, but just for demo purposes, I use GarageBand. But I have like a one of those like Scarlett preamp things that I use just to keep the signal clean. But yeah, so Dave and I will send ideas back and forth and generally create some sort of like big structure, and then the guys in LA will kind of throw the rhythm parts on there. I think that's kind of what we've been doing because of the distance. I think beforehand it was just getting in a room and working on the songs like in a room together.
We use Slack to stay together to like communicate. We create like channels for each song, upload music there, so that really kind of keeps things organized.
Yeah, I think it's Slack is really good for that, for just to kind of like keep the momentum going, right? So like people will kind of just throw in updates
and to keep organized. Yeah, everything from album art to merch to tour dates, venues, like everything has a channel, so we can like jump right in and get our answers if we're working on something.
That's perfect. I need to get on that. Yeah, and a friend told me to try out Logic. He said there's like an AI drummer and you can select different drumming styles and tell it to put in more fills or less fills. I haven't had success in trying to get bands going here lately, at least. So I would at least like to stay productive during the downtime.
Yeah, I think we all kind of Brian's other band has a rehearsal space, so and we used to have like a lockout, right, where we could go 24/7 and just get together. But our other sister band kind of broke up, and we ditched that spot years ago. So now, when I can, when Brian and I get together and try and write our parts over the scratch tracks that Dave and Rishi will write to like a click, so we can kind of keep it in time, and then we'll kind of just record and email demos back and forth. And I have a setup at home. I've been using Pro Tools for, I don't know, 12, 14 years, and so I can track like the Rhodes keyboard. Well, this is a little bit more for other projects, but Rhodes into a DI box into the computer. And then, I think, Rishi, you have some microphones at home too, just for getting the basics down, right?
Yeah, it's, for demo purposes, it does the job.
And this is where I get in trouble because this pandemic has really muted my creativity. I owe drums to Signal Hill first and foremost, and I have a Yamaha electronic drum set here just so I don't piss off the neighbors. But I can track with individual channels for each drums into the computer, and then lay them over the ideas that they send, and then send them back. So sorry guys, I've been marinating these songs and not producing. It's my fault.
It's so hard to stay motivated during this time, and I feel bad, but then I hear everybody else saying it too. Like I'm supposed to be studying for this big certification I have to get for work, and I've only really recently like pushed myself into a schedule, but even doing anything all day I find is impossible. Like I'm laying on the couch and I'm like, I have to get up. I have to do this. I can't. I just can't.
No, I've been wanting to start like a kind of a side project and also write music for Last Good Sleep. And the closest I've gotten to touching my guitar was moving it from the closet into like my car. It was just like I'm just like, I'll get to it eventually. It just work like really is draining, like all the Zoom calls and everything else. And then I also consult on the side. So like everything is so busy. And then like when you get a chance, you're like, the last thing I want to do is like sit in a room and like noodle around on anything. Like I want to go outside. And so next thing you know, it's like 11 o'clock at night and you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to sleep. So being creative has been a challenge for sure.
It's so hard. And between my full-time job, which takes up a lot of time, studying, and this podcast is like takes up a lot of time too, between maintaining the site and editing and finding guests and everything else. There's little room for everything else, and I fill that remaining space up with video games, because there's a lot of good ones out right now. So I don't know, making music is just something that's not happening right now for me.
Yeah, I feel bad to kind of go against the crowd, but I don't know.
I knew it.
It's kind of my dream to just be in like a dark room with the guitar and just writing stuff. So I've been doing that, and I can be in my dark bedroom for hours, and then my wife will come in and be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing in here?" Like, I'm working on some songs. So been getting a lot of like Sky Is Alright stuff written as well, and waiting for Tim to send drums to some of the Signal Hill songs.
Goddamn hot.
So my last question: what's coming up for Signal Hill? Do we have more music? Is it going to be another singles, EPs, LPs? Give it to us.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, so we'll definitely get those tour dates rescheduled, hopefully for next year.
Mm-hmm.
We do have let's see, like a handful of new ideas that we're working towards. I think eventually we'll get to a new full length. Should we drop the 7-inch?
Drop it all. drop the 7-inch and drop everything.
Yes.
So we have it. So we just released that 7-inch with Good Weather for an Airstrike with a new song called Blessed Land. So that came out a few months back, and really excited about how that new song turned out and kind of like the direction that we're kind of going with that. We have another new song that we're about to release on another 7-inch with North End.
It's a split 7.
Yeah. So we're getting through kind of like the artwork and stuff for that. So we'll hopefully have that out in a few months' time. And then I think just kind of working through a few more songs. I think whatever the new full length is, we'll kind of include these new songs from the 7 inches. Plus, we have a handful of ideas in the works. So
you're telling me
really
there's a new Signal Hill song out there that I haven't heard on this 7-inch that's out? I don't see it on. Oh, I get everything through Spotify. So if it's not on Spotify, I won't have heard it.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know if it shows up on our Spotify page. I think
Which one,
'cause
Rish? The good
it's
weather split?
Yeah.
yeah.
Because the North End one is for sure not out.
Yes, that one will be out soon. But the other one, it's called Blessed Land. The song is called Blessed Land.
Hmm.
So if you do a search for Signal Hill Blessed Land, it'll show up.
Awesome. So I'm
So, yeah.
definitely going to do that today. Well, guys, I want to thank you for being on. This was awesome. And once those tour dates are rescheduled, if you're playing New York City again, I will for sure be there.
Quick
Yes.
question, Rish. Do we want to mention anything else that's in development at this point,
Yeah.
Brian?
Oh yeah. Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah. Go for it. That's
Please.
like the big one. Sorry.
Yeah, so this might excite you. I don't know, but we're in the process of aggregating and developing the artwork for a double LP re-release. Well, not a re-release, but a vinyl release of basically everything that we've done that's not on vinyl yet, as well as some goodies that have never, some older versions that have never been released to the world.
Awesome.
Some B-sides.
It'll be the two.
Yeah.
It'll be the two EPs. Yeah. So like the first self-titled EP and Distance EP, and then kind of like B-sides and demos from those sessions.
Oh, awesome. So even more new stuff. That's great. Yeah, and folks, please check out Signal Hill, one of my favorite bands and definitely one of my favorite post-rock bands. The self-titled EP is a good place to start. Distance, the EP is great. That first song on Distance, I forget the name of it, but that's like one of my favorites.
Paper Airplanes.
Yeah.
Freelance Forest, I think is.
Or Freelance
Oh, is
Forest.
it
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's actually in my top 3 Signal Hill songs for
Yeah,
sure.
the
Yeah.
guitar in that is just, so memorable. So, I mean, yes, everybody, if you're listening to this show, please listen to Signal Hill. They're an excellent band, and we look forward to seeing you live again once those tour dates get rescheduled. And any closing words? Let's start with Rishi.
Just thanks for thinking of us and reaching out to us, and Keith and Tommy, I really appreciate it. And it's been fun. It's been real.
Excellent. Tim?
Yeah, thank you both for inviting us on. It's exciting to be able to chat, and we're just going to keep doing what we do, being great friends and putting out music that inspires people. And I remember over the years, this is probably my proudest aspect of being in Signal Hill with these awesome guys is that we've had fans over the years tell us that they've played our music on loop at their wedding at a castle in England. One couple walked down the aisle to one of our songs.
What, really?
We've
I didn't
had
know that.
a
That's cool.
fan. We've had a fan admit that he conceived their child while listening to our record.
Wow.
We've been played at a funeral. Our music's been the background soundtrack to someone's funeral, someone's father's funeral, and I believe during a birth somehow, which I might be wrong about, but we've been in the circle of life, and we just like making our music, and we're just so happy that people can latch onto it in whatever place they are in their world.
I'm glad you brought that up, Tim, because that I feel that too. Like Signal Hill has been the soundtrack to like so many different things in my life over the years. Because I've listened to you guys for, let's see, over a decade now. So good times, bad times, like just it's just a recurring band that's been in a lot of moments in my life. So I thank all of you for that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Always
And
welcome.
Brian, any closing words?
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you first and foremost to you guys for having us on and all your kind words and thinking so much of us. You said it was like hard work, with this podcast, but keep doing it because I think you guys are obviously like putting it into a pool of things that people are enjoying right now. Can't wait to get back out there again. Hopefully we schedule those tour dates and with the new music that's coming out, it's always exciting to, kind of hear what people have to say about it and, or what people think about it. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And Tommy, give us some closing words.
Keith always makes fun of me for finding the vast majority of my music on YouTube. However, guess what has fucking Blessed Land right at the top? So Signal Hill, Blessed Land is on YouTube if you want to go listen to it right now. So
It's on Apple Music, I know, also.
Keith teases me constantly about it. Why don't you have fucking Spotify?
Yeah.
Well, Tim and I don't think any of us have the record. Like Dave, for some reason, does. But none of us like own it.
YouTube is good for older stuff, but like if you want something brand new, it's never on YouTube because of like copyright and everything. So if there's like a hot new hip hop track or something like that, like it's not going to be on YouTube right away. Tommy, give us some kind closing words for our dear friends in Signal Hill.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on. You guys have made music that has profoundly affected me, and it's been amazing to speak with you guys and hear your process that goes along with all of this. It's been an absolute pleasure. You guys all seem like really, really nice people, and I just wish you the best of luck in you guys continuing to make music. I really just can't explain to you guys how much it has it's really just been especially a bonding moment between me and my kids, because it's a lot of the music I listen to is so harsh. When I put stuff on like that, like you guys, they really start to see that music isn't just like kids bop or like radio music that they hear in the car and shit. So I just want to extend a sincere thank you to all you guys. It's really just been a pleasure.
No,
you're welcome.
If you're ever on the West Coast, you hit up Tim and I. We're always like willing to meet up and hang out. So
for sure,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Same goes for the UK.
Yeah, and hit us up too. We're always down to hang or go to a show if anybody's around. So
yeah, if you guys next time you guys are in Philly, I'm definitely coming to see you.
Yes.
Well, you'll be able to hear that song "Blessed Land." It'll be our first, our first live performance of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tommy, put that song on for the twins, and when you see us next, tell us what they thought of it.
I will absolutely. I will tell you as soon as I see you guys, and right after, as long as we're allowed to give each other big hugs. Hopefully, we're not in this stay the distance from people. It's always weird when you get to talk to people and then you see them again. It's like I went to my mom's house I guess after the first week of this happening, and it was like, oh, I want to hug my mom. Jesus Christ, it's fucking weird. Man.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. And until next time.